Hello everyone, welcome to another Power Talk with Archanna. This is your platform to reach out to the stars. Plan your success with me, Archanna, as I lead you, inspire you, and support you to unleash your passions and expertise, coach you and mentor you to achieve your success goals, and help you carve your dream life you've always dreamed for. Power Talk with Archana brings to you world-class virtual and in-person skill development programs especially curated for you. Welcome to my world as I collaborate with business leaders across the world. Let's welcome one such business leader today. Sumanta is the Group CMO for Narayana Healthcare, the second most robust healthcare leader spearheaded by Dr. Devi Shetty, the renowned heart specialist here in Bengaluru. Sumanta is one among the 50 most influential marketing leaders in India. He also wears the hat of a mentor and a coach. Passionate about igniting young minds, he leads them to take their road to success. Sumanta believes that success follows those who believe in their passion, hard work, and dream in their lives to live life beyond ordinary. Aggressive revenue growth, Sumanta Ray. Implementing innovative strategies, Sumanta Ray. Entrepreneurial attitude, Sumanta Ray. Revenue driver, Sumanta Ray. Custodian of your brand, Sumanta Ray. Let's welcome Sumanta Ray, one among the top 50 most talented CMOs India has seen. Let's welcome Sumanta. Hello Sumanta, how are you doing?
Thanks Archana, thanks for having me over. And I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good too.
Very well, thank you so much Sumanta. Looking forward to know a lot from you about marketing and how to get this ball rolling. Let's start this journey, Sumanta. Sumanta, we are in the COVID world, we are in the VUCA world, and we all are talking about adaptability, we are talking about change. All said and done with, we realize this change is really changing constantly. And you have been the master of the trade. You are among the top 50 CMOs India has seen. Tell us, what are those traits a CMO must have to be the CMO for any organization?
Sure. So I think a couple of things which most CMOs should have. One is obviously having a revenue and profitability focus. In many organizations, marketing and sales at times are not very hand in hand, and as a result, the focuses are different. But ultimately, the organization of any enterprise is profitability, is increasing shareholder value, and revenue is a path towards that. So everybody in the organization, and more so the CMO, has to be very revenue focused. So revenue focus, trying to garner revenue and thereby profitability. So these are the two aspects of the key focus. I would say the most important part of delivering value within the organization for a CMO. So it is, for example, in today's digital world, most CMOs are obviously involved in digital marketing and look at CTRs and CPLs and other measures. But to my mind, the only measure is what revenue you got into the organization's coffers. So essentially, to my mind, all the measures which we currently do at a CMO level across organizations, across industries, they are all intermediate measures at best. The ultimate measure of the revenue is is the revenue. So I think it is important to have a very strong revenue and profitability focus. The second thing is obviously adaptability, right? So as COVID showed, I mean, I've heard many people over the last couple of decades talking about Vision 2020. And they said 2020 will be like this and 2020 will be like that. And since the turn of the millennium, people across the world, across organizations, have been talking about Vision 2020. I'm sure not a single document in the world of all these Vision 2020s could ever predict what 2020 would actually be like. And so in February and March, when it happened, the pandemic came upon us, everybody had to change their plans, everybody had to adapt. So I think the adaptability is very, very important. Right? It is extremely important to be adaptable, because nothing is status quo. Like you rightly mentioned, change is the only constant. So nothing is constant and everything is changing. It is a little bit like running on a treadmill. Running a business, or life itself is like running on a treadmill. You cannot stand, right? You cannot. It's not static. If you stand, you fall, right? So if you have to be on the treadmill, you have to keep running, right? So it is. And what is running? Running is constantly adapting to changes, right? So it is. So adaptability is the second important attribute that a CMO needs to have. Third thing is curiosity. Curiosity is very important. You need to be curious, because marketing is all about trying 10 new things, of which 8 will fail and 2 will work. Unfortunately, nobody knows which 2. So it's a constant game of looking at things which are new. So you need to be curious. You need to be have a childlike curiosity about things, right? I apart from being a CMO, I also teach at various colleges like IIM, NGIM, etc. And when I interact with kids who are almost my son's age, and then they are so curious and they are irreverently curious. As we grow older, as we are more exposed to the world, we become a little cynical. And our curiosity is also tempered to that extent. We are cautiously curious. However, youngsters, children are very curious. There is no cautiousness. So they will try things, they will fall, they will get up, they will. So that curiosity is extremely important for a marketer, for a sales leader, for anybody in a leadership position in organizations, because unless you are curious, you won't know where the next opportunity lies. Unless you are curious, you won't know what is beyond that door unless you open the door. Right? So, and that curiosity also gives you adaptability, obviously, gives you also fearlessness to an extent. Because if you're curious, you're willing to just dip your foot in the puddle and see, how the water feels, not really worrying whether your feet will get dirty or not. So curiosity is very important. So just to reiterate, these 3 things I feel are very, very important: revenue and profitability focus, adaptability, and curiosity. So I think these are more very, very important stuff. Rest, of course, the basic stuff is which almost any professional will have. So,
Lovely. Lovely, lovely, Sumanta. I'm sure marketers out there and the budding CMOs are listening, their ears open, how important all these 3 pointers are to make you the CMO you are. Amazing. I mean, we are talking about the ROIs, and the kind of world we are in, the unprecedented times, very volatile situations, absolutely a volatile world. How do you really work on stabilizing ROI and still ensure growth?
When you are looking at ROI and when you're looking at stabilizing, and especially in these crisis times, which I think what you are alluding to very strongly, every crisis is an opportunity, right? So every crisis creates new opportunities. So it's a question of how you look at it, whether the glass is half empty or half full. Okay, right? So the reality is there's a half glass of water. It's the perception and how you look at things actually shows that what your perspective is. In today's world, we see a lot of these startups which have made really big, right? Globally, I'm talking about. And if you trace the genesis of many of these organizations and founders, you would find that they had for some reason, either the closure of a startup or loss of a job happened in 2008 when the last financial crisis happened. So a lot of people were forced out of their comfort zone, and they had to think, and they thought, and they came up with great business ideas. And almost 12 years later, They're really big brands and big organizations and big businesses. So that opportunity came at crisis. This crisis, your set of opportunities will come out. I'll give an example from healthcare. What we call telemedicine or telehealth or video consultations has been around since around the year 2000, or 98 or 2000, with the government putting in all hospitals. And so everybody knows. So there was never any doubt on that it is a workable solution. But it was never, for various reasons, nobody implemented that. Organizations tried. All organizations would have tried in their way, but it was like normal business was happening, and why push something new so much? So that was one part. But the larger part was that there was no policy clearance. The government was not clear. There was no telemedicine policy, and it was a gray area. And it was like this for 20 years, 2 decades, despite having everybody knowing that it is a good thing. So 23rd, when the Honorable Prime Minister announced the lockdown, within 24 to 48 hours, the new telemedicine policy came out. Right. So now everything was in black and white, and all organizations stepped up. You would have seen a lot of video consultations. People are now scared to go to hospitals. They're doing video consultations and stuff. So sometimes things are born out of crises, right? So now every hospital, every healthcare provider now is just providing video consultation, and people are accepting that earlier. So earlier, both from the consumer perspective and the provider perspective and the government stroke policy perspective, there was what I would call a paralysis. People knew, but people were not really acting upon it. But now you look at it, everybody is doing that, and there's a policy clarity. People are figuring out newer and newer models. So from every opportunity, so this is a crisis. Stability will come. Like I said, if you're focused on your revenue and profitability, if you're looking at curiously at opportunities, there are opportunity comes up. This is one example in my sector which I'm talking about. But I'm sure there are other opportunities which would have come up. I mean, online deliveries. There are a lot of digital businesses that have come, and where digital payments, right? So it's been probably 4 or 5 months when I even every time I step out in Bangalore, I do carry my purse, but I don't remember last time I took out a credit card or a cash. I have been using digital payments, and it's par for the course. So of course, all these were there, not that these were not there, but the real push comes, and there are organizations which benefit out of it. The organizations which are aggressive, who look at this as an opportunity, will benefit. So I see every crisis as, again, a glass half full, right? And there will be opportunities. Life is like that. Life is not static. For even in personal lives, life is purely static. It's not purely static. So things will keep on happening, and you have to adapt. So I think more opportunities will come. Yes, this is a crisis, but yes, we will come out of it. And people are figuring out things. People are new business ideas are emerging. If you're adaptable, if you're picking the draw, you will prosper. Yes.
Yeah, I think you're quite right there. Things were already there in place, but then this COVID just got things into the right momentum. As you very rightly said, there has been talks, there has been proposals, there have been provisions to have online, consultation, the medical consultations, but then it just came into the forefront when the COVID hit us. I think you're very right there. It's just about, keeping your curiosity high, the levels high, so that, you keep working and thinking outside the box and make the most of it, so that there is some sustenance of the ROI for the organization to keep growing. Very well said. All said and done with, Sumanta, COVID has been a time when we were not very prepared for it, and it has taken all of us by a shock, literally. So when this, you came to know that we are entering into a phase which is not going to be very welcoming as far as business is concerned and overall the life in general, how was your first week? What was your reaction? How did you really hold the reins of such a humongous organization you spearhead?
So of course, while we are talking about adaptability, etc., obviously things change this massive, catches everybody flat-footed. People, and like everybody else, I was also, equally stunned, shocked, whichever you call it. But then after the initial, shock passes off, you kind of figure out what next. So I think one of the things, and I mentioned video consultation earlier. So we did not have a video consultation platform at NH. So in 2 weeks, with the tech teams working 24/7, we rolled out a online platform for video consultation, and then since then we have kept on adding a suite of stuff to that platform. So some of the things that got tested was, is it possible from zero to launch a digital platform in 2 weeks and a functional digital platform, especially in a network of hospitals? So we are not one hospital, right? So we are placed across 17 different cities in India and outside India also, and everything coming into one platform, patients here and there, doctors. So it's a very complex, multi-variable problem, and then we had to put every variable in place. So that was one thing we did, and we did it well in hindsight. At that point of time, it was quite a stressful time, but we did pretty good job. I would, especially our tech teams, they really work backwards, work their backs off and kind of created. So that was one. A second thing, what we, I think the important call was to conserve cash. We said we will conserve cash. So what we said is, if I'm doing as a 3 to 4% of revenue as marketing spends, etc., we will benchmark it to that month's revenue. So if you're at half revenue, you spend half. If you're at quarter revenue, you spend quarter. So you benchmark it on a monthly basis, because we said no point looking at annual plans, and all that became redundant, right? Because this was unprecedented. So what you do is you benchmark your percentage spends, and you say, okay, I thought I'd spent 3% of, say, whatever, 3,000 crores, 4,000 crores, but this month I'm just at 100 crores, so I'll spend only 3% of that. So this was important, that conserve cash. Don't let the organization bleed, because unless you do all that, you may not have enough cash to last the time when this situation normalizes. So it is very important to kind of conserve cash. So that is the second thing which we did is we conserved cash. We renegotiated with a lot of our partners. We said, look, we don't. And then the partners were really understanding, and they said, look, we understand. So we renegotiated certain stuff, and so we brought down the cost significantly in line with the revenues that we were doing at that point in time, or whichever point. And even now it continues that we are kind of benchmarking it to current this month's whatever we are able to earn, because obviously everything is a function of what. And the third part was painstakingly build back the business. Okay, you have to look at new opportunities. You have to figure out that there are some parts which are not going to work. So, for example, from a hospital perspective, it is not that patients are going to come back immediately, right? So there are transportation lockdowns and all that. People are scared to come to hospitals. So how do you build back the business? So to kind of try. So all our hospitals immediately started communicating that it's a safe place. We are the separate COVID and non-COVID wings and all that. And then not only us, I'm sure the entire industry reacted in that way. And then you looked at, okay, look, I have a certain part of the business is not going to come back till it normalizes. So what are the other parts of the business which you can build? So I'll give an example. For example, we typically have, for example, I talk of our Bangalore units. So we have patients coming in from southern part of the country and to some extent the eastern part of the country, because that's how the natural patient flow has been. However, because of now it's all digital, so we started seeing a surge of patients from UP and MP, which were not our traditional big markets, because now in the digital world, distance became zero. So somebody said, if I'm in Mirzapur, why will I look at best doctor in Mirzapur? I will look at the best doctor in India, and it doesn't matter whether he's in Bangalore or Delhi or Chennai. So what happened is markets expanded. Non-core markets or non-regular markets started to emerge. And it's still a work in progress, but there's a third thing, that newer opportunities, newer markets opened up because of the situation, which in normal case may or may not have opened up. So this is how I think we reacted, that conserve costs and build up some solutions and look at newer revenue streams.
Lovely, Sumanta. I think conserving costs is one thing that you've spoken about, is really amazing, and I think is the need of the hour to let the companies and the organizations stabilize. I think this is really amazing out there. Great, Sumanta. Sumanta, this really talks about the kind of leadership you have. How would you like to define your style of leadership?
In terms of leadership, what I believe is let people grow. I think I read a quote somewhere that leadership is about having the courage to surround yourself by people smarter than you. And I very, very strongly believe that that is what leadership is. My job as the CMO is to drive strategy and deliver passion to the team. But the actual work is done by really, really smart people. And that's what a very, very important part of my leadership style is. I do spend more than a quarter of my time evaluating and recruiting people, which is normally seen as an HR function. But I believe that if you put the right person in the right job, the job is done. So it is important to have that perspective and have the right people and have really smart people work for you. And really smart people will only work for you if you are able to demonstrate leadership and motivate them. They, beyond a point, they don't work for money. They don't work for, because they are smart. So they will get the money and the perks anywhere where they work. But they work for you because you provide something intangible, okay, which is fun. So just a case in point. So for example, in the marketing function, sales and marketing function, my organization, typically our departmental attrition rate will be far lower than the organizational attrition rate. So people whom I have recruited probably a decade back, 9 years back, they will just be around because not because that we are, it's about pay or anything else. It is about recognizing that people are smart. They just need the motivation and that a CMO has their back, and rest they will perform. So leadership is about surrounding yourself with very smart people and having the ability to hold on to them. So that's what leadership in my mind is.
Amazing, amazing, absolutely impressive, Sumanta. I think you very rightly said your team is your intellectual capital, and it's the art of the CMO to keep your team intact. Absolutely wonderful. Sumanta, with this year, so many years of experience, more than 2 decades now, do we see a book, your thoughts on Dreams of Paper, percolating down your years of experience?
Probably someday. I don't think I have the time right now. But someday, yes. I mean, like I mentioned, I do teach and I do take that very seriously. Yeah. Last 7-8 years, I've been teaching at various management institutes. So I do share my thoughts with people who are not really right now part of the business, who are planning to get into the business world. Someday, probably, if I get the time and get out of my laziness and kind of get down to writing, yes, probably. Who knows?
Great. Looking forward to a book from an ace marketeer like you, Sumanta. Tell me, Sumanta, so many traits that make a good marketeer. What else would you like to add to your kitty? Two traits that you're really fond, that you know you hold very close to your heart.
Like I said, one thing is motivating people. So I think it is the motivation which you create. It is important to motivate people. And that's the only way to hang on to smart people who go on to deliver great things. So this is one thing I mentioned. The other thing is integrity. A leader has to be integrity. People respect you if you have the integrity, right? You cannot demand respect. You have to command respect, and that you can only do if you have integrity. The more and more senior you are, one should be aware that thousands of pairs of eyes are watching every move of yours. They're watching what you do. They're watching how you behave. They're watching how you are dealing with situations, and watching whether you are doing that with integrity or not. In my years, I have seen that most people do not. It's not that their leader has to support them or support them unfairly. The basic premise is that they be treated fairly. Okay, so that's what my experience has been. That most people, and that's true of I guess all the organizations in the world, is that people just expect that my leader will treat me fair. I'm not looking at any special favors. I have my capability, but be fair to me. And this I find I'm really not able to understand a lot of times why a lot of people are unable to provide. It's a very simple thing. You're not favoring anybody or you're not disfavoring anybody. You're just being fair. You are just being professional. You're just sitting and analyzing. So it is important to have that kind of leadership where you are fair and that you have the integrity and you have the moral strength because of that integrity to look somebody in the eye and say something. And even if it is sometimes stuff which may not be palatable. I mean, there are people who have worked with me and now no more work with me. They're still they may have moved on because probably sometimes the role is not okay, or things like that, or they were not fitting into the role. But even now, after years, people will just be in touch and talk, and it just feels nice that yes, somewhere. So yes, integrity is very, very important, and personally, I value that as one of the top attributes for a leader.
Absolutely. Loved it. Loved it, Sumanta. I think you're very right there. And this is one thing that I hold very close to my heart. For me, it's really important. I've worked for so many organizations, but one thing that I really, really feel very happy and proud about, all my management everywhere, they still know where Archana is, what she's doing, and they can still count on me. And I can count on them, be it visiting whichever part of the world. If I need to reach out to them, I reach out to them. They reach out to me. I think that's one relationship one should always carry forward with the organizations you've worked for. Amazing. Absolutely right. Tell me, Sumanta, 10 years down the line, what do you see Sumanta doing?
Probably teaching full time. Igniting young minds. That's something I love to do. And once I'm probably out of the corporate thing, and once all this thing is over, yes, I would like to spend a lot of time igniting young minds. I really am inspired by Professor Kalam, who in IIM Shillong, where he was giving his speech when he had his heart attack, I think, and he collapsed. So while teaching what he loved doing is how he passed away. And incidentally, I have taught at that podium, and I think I have taught at that institute, so I can relate to that. So that's a great way. And then more, Dr. Kalam, if you think of him, more than the president of India, which he was, more people remember him as a kind of a mentor, And in a knowledge economy, that's where, that's what is important. And I would like to do that. I would like to spend a lot of time igniting minds and seeing them prosper and seeing them do really, really well and change the world. Yes.
Great. Lovely. Sumanta, tell me one thing. You have been working relentlessly to make your company grow, hold your teams together. Of course, COVID times have been very difficult time for all of us. What is that one thing that makes Sumanta really happy, gives you your good night's sleep?
When I see that the people are working towards a common goal and we achieve something almost every other day, there are small milestones to be crossed. The path to a large victory is by winning small battles. You win the war with winning small battles. So these are small milestones which are almost on a daily, weekly basis people um, achieve, people look at. Because it is important to recognize that. It is important to celebrate these small things in life. In personal life also, I really enjoy the smaller things of life. Not really a lot of material stuff. Similarly, in organizationally, when the small stuff happens, small wins happen. It is important to celebrate that. And at that point of time, yes, I feel happy that yes, something we achieved. We moved forward. At least directionally, we are moving. So we are moving ahead. So whichever way, we are moving ahead. That's important. So I think every time we have this wins and smaller wins happen once a week, once a month, and that point of time you feel happy. Yes, you have a good night's sleep. Okay, one problem we solved. We'll look at the next problems and see. But today's problem we have solved. So yes.
Wow. Amazing, Sumanta. A lot to learn out there from you, Sumanta. You're an amazing person. Thanks a lot for coming on board and speaking to my audience. I'm sure there's a lot, not one, but many takeaways for people out there, not only marketeers, but in general. I think it's a lot in there for people to learn from you. Thanks a lot for coming on board and speaking to my audience. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Archana. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful life. Bye-bye. That was Sumanta Ray for you, one among the top 50 CMOs in India. If you are a CMO in the making, this conversation is for you. If you are a marketer wanting to ace the trade, this conversation is for you. He talks about leadership. He talks about his team being his intellectual capital. He talks about the art of embracing change and the art of making the best as adversities hit you. It's about catching the right opportunity. It's about making the most of the current opportunities. It's about seeing the glass half full. Not one, but many takeaways from this wonderful conversation. I hope you really feel inspired and would urge you to keep listening to this conversation over and over again till you find your best takeaways and make the most of it. I wish all of you the very best and stay tuned for more.